tips to achieve sustainable, tips to achieve sustainable energy and health. And if you follow these tips, you'll certainly lose weight at the same time. So a little bit about myself, my background. So I have a bachelor's movement science from University of Michigan. I have my master's and doctorate from UMD&J, which is now Rutgers, in physical therapy. So I'm a licensed physical therapist, practicing in orthopedics and sports medicine for the past 20 years. I'm also a functional nutrition provider for chronic pain, a nutrition and exercise coach, personal trainer, health coach, and a certified yoga teacher. I do currently work at TRINITY Rehab here in Parsippany. We're located on 131 New Road, and I treat all kinds of injuries and chronic pain, post-surgery, low back and neck pain, which I'm sure most of you have sitting in front of your computers all the time. Joint pain, muscle ligament injuries, arthritis, balance, strength deficits, sports injuries, basically anything, any kind of injury or pain that you have in your body. As PTs, that's what I do. There is direct access in New Jersey, so you do not need a doctor's prescription to start PT. You could just call us up, and we offer a free consultation to discuss your condition and also review your insurance benefits. And we do offer what's called EPAT, which is a special sound wave therapy that helps increase blood flow, circulation, and healing to muscle and tendon injuries. And also we have an AlterG treadmill, which is a great machine where it's anti-gravity, like you're walking on the moon. So if you have arthritis or you're deconditioned or overweight and have joint pain, you actually could walk on the treadmill and you won't have the pain because you're not have as much load through your joints. So patients love using that machine. So let's get to the meat of the presentation. So the first tip is sleep 1 more hour per night. Typically, I would say, get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, but some people are able to manage 4 or 5 hours a night, or going from 4 hours to 8 hours is a little bit too much of a ambitious goal. So if you're currently sleeping 5 hours a night, try to get 6. But yes, ideally 7 to 8 hours is what most people need. If you wake up refreshed and you only sleep 6 hours, then that might be okay with you. But if you're waking up tired, then you definitely need more sleep. And sleep is, as you know, important for everything from keeping your weight in check to your overall health and reducing inflammation in your body and having energy. So I know this is not news to everybody, but do you actually get enough sleep? That's the number one thing I would recommend is making sure you do. So some tips on getting more sleep is make sure you want to follow the same routine. So you want to go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time. That includes weekends, even if you have the day off, sleeping in kind of throws off your circadian rhythm. So you do want to try to naturally go to bed and wake up at the same time. I never understood snoozing. It's better just to set your alarm clock later. So if your alarm clock goes off at 6 a.m., but you snooze 3 times until 6:30, that totally disrupts your body's circadian rhythm, and it'd be just better off to sleep until 6:30. That extra half hour of full sleep would do wonders for your energy. A way to try to achieve that is you want to move your alarm away and far from you, not right next to you. So you have to actually get out of bed to turn it off, and hopefully that will keep you up. Sleeping in cool temperatures is a lot better for your quality of sleep and also for weight loss as well. So you want to try to reduce the temperature in your room as best as possible. You want to keep everything dark and have no electronics, or at least, don't use any electronics for at least 1 hour before bed. Because again, that interrupts your hormones that helps you go to sleep. So don't be, on your cell phone or iPad, texting or reading or surfing the web, because that's going to cause not only keep you up, but then also probably increases your stress, which then keeps you up as well. The second tip is drink 1 to 2 cups of water when you wake up. So we all know the importance of water. But after sleeping and not, drinking since dinner, you've gone at least 10, 12, whatever, 14 hours without water. So you wake up pretty much dehydrated. It's part of the why, when you wake up, you're kind of stiff in the morning. And also from not moving all night in bed, that makes you stiff. Drinking 1 to 2 cups of water will help, get you hydrated. And of course, if you start your day with coffee, then you need even more water, just because coffee tends to be a diuretic and could make you more dehydrated. So not only will drinking water help with getting you hydrated, but it also helps, the feeling of feeling full. So you might not eat as much, as you go throughout your day. The next tip is change your mindset about food. So what I mean by that is, food is your friend, not your enemy. A lot of people are afraid to kind of eat food, too much. They all they think about is calories, 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 and they're afraid to, eat fattening food and gain weight. But you want to use food. Food is like is really medicine, really, and I'll get more into that shortly. You want to use food for your health and benefits and for energy, and not be afraid of it. And I'll discuss how to use food properly in a moment. Basically, what I like to do is everything I put in my mouth, I ask myself, how is this food helping me? Or how is it hurting me? And all calories are not the same. So, calorie, that used to be a belief years ago, but obviously your body assimilates, vegetables a lot differently than a bagel. So calories in does not always equal calories out. That equation doesn't work anymore. Foods you eat, plays a big role on your hormones in your body and the amount of inflammation in your body, and which affects your metabolism and affects how your body burns food, whether it stores it or uses it for energy. And then do not stress about the foods you eat. So, if you're going to have a treat, enjoy it and savor it. And I'll get into mindful intuitive eating later. But, if you're stressing about the foods you eat, that's going to cause more stress and affect your hormones. And then not only are you eating a quote unquote bad food, but then you increase the stress response in your body, which will create more storage of fat in your body versus you utilizing the food. So if you're going to eat something that's a treat, then enjoy it and savor it. Okay. And then you'll probably only eat one instead of, let's say, 4 or 5 cookies. All right. So as I kind of alluded to before, use food as functional medicine. So the next few slides, I'm going to have a lot of detailed information. I'll try to run through it as quickly as possible. For instance, so this first slide, inflammation, is the root cause of all these different diseases and conditions throughout your body, which affects how your body assimilates food and all inflammation, throughout your body. So everywhere from the brain and nervous system and neurodegenerative conditions, like Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease and even headaches is from inflammation. Your immune system, so 70% of your immune system is in the gut. So the next one is your GI tract and digestive disorders. So, inflammation of the gut is a critical thing that many people suffer from, whether it's, Crohn's disease or IBS or whatnot. And it's all stemming from inflammation. So it's from the foods you eat and stress and environmental things. Energy and metabolism, your mitochondria are critical. New studies are coming out how important, most people have mitochondrial dysfunction, which obviously, if you're not familiar with mitochondria, that's the energy powerhouse of all your cells. So if your mitochondria aren't working, that's going to lead to many diseases and obviously reduced energy. Hormones play a huge role. So your adrenal glands, thyroid, sex hormones, etc. Blood sugar control. So diabetes is obviously an inflammatory condition that, and I'll get into carbohydrates shortly to discuss that. Detoxification by the liver, your DNA. So cancer is an inflammatory process that sugar plays a big role in increasing cancer cells. Cancer cells basically feed off sugar. So you want to reduce that, which I'll get into. And then your cardiovascular, pulmonary, circulatory, and lymphatic system are all, to run effectively, you want to reduce inflammation in your body. And then our structural system. So skin issues is due to inflammation, arthritis, osteoporosis is actually an inflammatory condition. And I'll go more into that shortly. So SAD diet, ironically enough, it's called SAD diet, and it's the standard American diet because it's full of pro-inflammatory foods and it lacks protective foods. And this is what's leading the obesity epidemic in the United States. So the next step or next tip is eat your last meal 3 hours before bed. So what that's going to do is not only give you a better night's sleep, because your body's not going to be busy, breaking down your food and keeping you up, but it's also going to help with what's, the hot topic these days is intermittent fasting. If you wait 3 hours before you go to bed, plus you sleep, 8 hours a night, and then maybe delay your breakfast a little bit, then you're going 12, 14, 16 hours without eating, and then you get a built-in intermittent fasting, which is great for many things. As you can see here, it helps with hormone balance. So insulin is a major hormone in your body that definitely affects fat storage and inflammation, and obviously blood sugar control. Autophagy, which is cellular repair and removal of wastes, which helps with energy and anti-aging. So by not eating, for several hours, 12 to 16 hours, it gives your body a chance to get rid of all the bad DNA, all the bad cells, and help generate new ones, which helps with aging. Then obviously intermittent fasting helps with losing weight and body fat because it gives your body enough time to, it doesn't have, your blood sugar doesn't remain high. It gives your body time to burn fat instead of the sugar that's in your body if you keep eating. It reduces insulin resistance and risk of diabetes. It reduces oxidative stress and inflammation because every time you eat, your body actually, it's stress to your body, and you get free radical production and oxidative stress, which just causes inflammation. So if you're constantly eating every 3 hours, which used to be the, typical advice you got from, different diet, plans, that's out the window now. You kind of want to go at least 4 to 5 hours without eating during the day and then intermittent fast at night. So heart health is improved with intermittent fasting, cancer prevention, it reduces the side effects of chemo, brain health, so growth of new neurons and protect against damage, and then also protects from neurodegenerative diseases. So things like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's would symptoms improve with intermittent fasting. So like I just mentioned, time your meals at least 4 hours apart. And again, that just gives your body enough time to digest and assimilate all the food and calories from the last meal, and gets your blood sugar down and not continually elevated, which would lead to inflammation and diabetes in a lot of people. So I'm sure you've heard this before, but how many do you actually, do follow this? You want to eat more whole, non-processed foods, healthy fats, and proteins. So what does that really mean? Well, part of that is eat the rainbow and food without labels. So the rainbow meaning colorful foods. So obviously your colorful vegetables, colorful fruits in moderation. So again, if you do have blood sugar problems, you don't want to be eating a bowl of fruit because that is sugar, although it's high in phytonutrients and antioxidants and fiber, it is still sugar. So you do want to watch that if you do have already pre-diabetic conditions. And food without labels means, non-processed food. So if you have food that has got 20 ingredients in it, mostly chemicals and additives and coloring and whatnot, that's obviously not healthy for your body. So just natural things like fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, things that are just in their pure form are the best things to eat. And I'll go over that in minute as well, my superfoods list, which I'm sure you guys are all dying to see. This is my list. Obviously, you could Google superfoods and you'll get 500 different lists from people. I kind of tried to summarize as best I can from what I think is basically, if you follow eating all these foods, you'll be in great shape. Olive oil, avocados, so these are healthy fats, berries, cherries, colorful fruits, again, high in phytonutrients and antioxidants. So your greens and colorful vegetables, broccoli, kale, cauliflower, these help fight inflammation and cancer. Organic grass-fed meat, so not grain-fed. So if you do eat meat, try to always stick to grass-fed and not grain-fed, because grain-fed increases inflammation. Wild-caught cold water fish, so things that are high in omega-3s, which is anti-inflammatory, like salmon, mackerel, sardines. Again, you want to avoid farm-raised. High fiber, non-processed whole grains. So if you're able to tolerate, whole grains, like quinoa, buckwheat, oats, millet, amaranth, that can help with digestion and being in high fiber. Nuts and nut butters, even macadamia nuts. For years, macadamia nuts were considered terrible for you because they're so, I know nuts are all fat, but most of them are healthy fats. So your body needs fat. You can't be afraid of fat. And it will help you fill up. It's high in a lot of essential vitamins and minerals, and as well as a little bit of protein. So, obviously, unless you're allergic to nuts, it's a good thing to have in your diet, and as well as seeds. So pumpkin seeds, hemp seeds, flax seeds, these are all great things to add to, salads, or if you eat dairy, like Greek yogurt, things like that. Fermented foods are great for digestion. They're high in probiotics. So like sauerkraut, pickles, yogurt, kefir. Spices are wonderful. So there are a lot of anti-inflammatory spices: turmeric, ginger, cinnamon, oregano, garlic. Green tea is great due to the EGCG in there, which is a powerful, phytonutrient type compound. And yes, dark chocolate. So cocoa is great. The higher the percentage, the better. There will be more antioxidants the higher the amount of dark chocolate you go, and there'll be less sugar. So yes, if you look on the label, there's more fat grams and there's more calories. However, your body actually does better digesting that than if you had obviously milk chocolate, or maybe only, instead of 85% dark chocolate, you only eat 50%, you're going to eat more sugar, which in my mind, I think sugar is the enemy. So it'd be better off to eat fat than sugar. And then there's now prebiotics that people are, raving about. So things that are, here's a list of foods there that are, high in prebiotics. All right, I included in here brain boosting food. So this will help with your mind and mood. So again, dark chocolate, nuts and seeds, avocado, dark leafy green vegetables, omega-3 fatty fish. These are all things that help the brain. Sweet potatoes, green tea, probiotics. Things you want to avoid, caffeine, alcohol, trans fatty acids, which if you read a label, trans fats are found in the hydrogenated oils. So if you see hydrogenated oil in a label, then you want to avoid it. I mean, there's really no safe limit. So the less you ingest of trans fats and hydrogenated oils, the better. And then obviously high sugar, processed carbs, and fried food. Again, you'll probably know it from experience. It makes you sluggish and tired and whatnot. So you're having low energy. These are the foods you want to add to your diet. So I mentioned insulin resistance before. It's the number one cause of age-related diseases. So it increases the risk of cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and dementia. So that's the new type 3 diabetes. So as I had alluded to before, neurodegenerative conditions like Alzheimer's, is recommended to go towards a low carbohydrate diet, even like a keto diet, because that's going to actually get rid of your brain fog and help with these neurodegenerative conditions. And even sarcopenia, which means muscle loss. So high insulin levels expedites that process as well. So effects of insulin, not to get too technical on you, but it does a lot of negative things. It increases your appetite, increases your cholesterols and triglycerides, increases blood pressure, stimulates cancer cells, increases inflammation and oxidative stress. It ages your brain, causes sex hormone imbalances, leads to mood disturbances. So this is why, carbs get a bad rap, and, rightfully so. You want to just more so the, processed sugars and things. If you do eat carbs, you want to try to have more high fiber carbs and more from natural whole grains versus obviously the processed stuff and added sugar, like I mentioned. So ways to improve your insulin sensitivity, which will help your body break down sugar in your blood. Limit white flour and high sugar products. Avoid processed and packaged foods. Eat more fiber. If you're looking for some supplement type stuff, eating cinnamon, chromium, or omega-3s can help. Exercise, especially weight training. Just think of muscle. When you gain muscle from weight training, it sucks all that sugar out of your bloodstream to help maintain muscle, and it just burns it for energy, whereas fat just sits there and really doesn't need anything. So the more fat you have and less muscle, the more sugar just kind of sits around in your bloodstream, and you become insulin resistant. To reduce insulin in your bloodstream, you also want to reduce stress. You want to breathe, so learning deep breathing and getting enough sleep, your 8 hours of sleep, will help as well. And then eat healthy proteins and fats with every meal, which would help balance out any carbohydrates that you eat as well. So the insulin response will be less. And then, as I mentioned before, practice some kind of intermittent fasting. So top foods to avoid, the high sugar foods. I know this kind of seems repetitive. I think you're getting the point, but dairy, if you're sensitive or allergic. So if you use dairy or like dairy, use organic only, because most of our milk and stuff have, hormones and antibiotics that have been added to the cows, unfortunately, to make them bigger and get more milk out of them. So go organic for dairy. Gluten, of course, if you're sensitive or have trouble losing weight, it could be a gluten thing. Obviously, if you have celiac disease, then you need to avoid gluten. But be careful, because if you tolerate gluten very well, there's no reason to cut it out, because usually a lot of gluten products, you think gluten-free is healthy, but it's not. You just replace gluten with something else like sugar, so the calories are still there. So just be careful. Gluten-free does not mean healthy, or does not mean nutrient dense. Again, processed foods, refined white flour, GMOs, dyes, omega-6s, trans fats, so things in vegetable oils. So, you kind of want to avoid those processed oils found in a lot of our baked goods and, crackers, things like that, like corn oil, safflower oil, cottonseed oil. And of course, fried foods, cause inflammation. So, of course, if you're allergic or have sensitivity to soy, eggs, or corn, that's something to look out for. FODMAP, I don't want to go into too much detail, but those are big words. They're basically just your little simple sugar type foods and sugar alcohols that cause, gas and bloating in many people. So if you do suffer from that, you may want to look into that, and you could easily Google, a FODMAP diet, which basically it's very tough to follow because there's a lot of foods you can't eat on this diet, but of course it's better to follow it and not have a lot of digestive issues and gas and stomach pain. But that is something to keep on your radar. Glutamate, and it's not just, MSG, you might have heard, in certain foods. There's a lot of forms of glutamate. So you could also Google that. I don't want to bore you with all of it. You're not going to remember because they're very, chemical-like names. But if you're having trouble, concentrating or falling asleep, or you feel like your brain is going like a million miles an hour, you could be having too much glutamate in your diet, which affects your brain. So that's something to look out for. And like I mentioned before, grain-fed meat and fish you want to avoid. So to stay on the topic, top 8 food allergens, it's things to be aware of. If you're, every time you eat, you feel bloated, gassy, have some kind of reaction, your skin breaks out, whatever. These are the top 8 food allergens you want to look out for. So Start with milk, soybeans, peanuts, shellfish, fish, tree nuts, eggs, wheat. So obviously eggs, great food to eat, high in protein, high in healthy fats. The egg yolk is great for you. However, if you're allergic to it, it's not so good. So, these are things, if you're having symptoms, these are things to look out for. And of course, if you get tested and you're allergic or you have a serious allergic reaction, you'll already know if you're allergic to these things. And I'm sure you're not eating them. So it's just all about awareness and how you feel when you eat. I included this because this goes hand in hand with the digestive thing and how you're feeling. So you might have heard of leaky gut syndrome. This is just basically when, the spaces become too wide and things leak into your gut and basically affects the entire body and causes an immune response and inflammation. So causes could be a poor diet. So it's the food you eat. You have microbiome issues. If you're taking a lot of pain medications. So I see this a lot in patients because I deal with patients in pain. So they're on pain medications, they're on anti-inflammatories, which is NSAIDs, they're on antibiotics, they've had surgery, they don't eat well. So, I have all this inflammation, which makes their pain even worse. So when I educate my patients on certain foods, they feel better actually because I'm reducing, this leaky gut thing that leads to systemic inflammation. So if you are suffering from symptoms and you need to you can't figure out what's causing it, you might have to go on an elimination diet. So this is the order which you would want to start with. Eliminate, you could either do cold turkey, eliminate everything, and then introduce one back, at a time, or you could kind of start with one and then see how you feel. And obviously, if you cut the sugar out and then you feel great, then you don't have to worry about the rest. But if you cut sugar out and then you're still not feeling great, and then you cut dairy out and you're not feeling great, then you cut gluten out, then all of a sudden you feel wonderful. Well, then it's probably the gluten. It's a lot of trial and error, and it's not an easy process. But if you're in enough pain and discomfort and having a lot of chronic issues and diseases, then it's worth trying. And obviously, you should seek professional help to do that, most likely. But these are the foods you want to try to eliminate. So as I mentioned before, osteoporosis, it's a big concern, as we get older. So it is actually caused by inflammation, and it's the 10 S's. So sugar, salt, soda, and alcohol. I know I spelled celiac disease wrong, but I needed an S, so celiac disease. Stimulants like caffeine, smoking, steroids, stress, and then some people a surplus of certain metals like toxins, protein. These are female hormones, acidic foods, calcium could cause increase in plaque. So actually, too much calcium in some people is not beneficial. And then, of course, if you're sedentary, we all know lack of weight-bearing exercise and weight training could lead to osteoporosis. That's why they always say try to lift weights and walk and stuff if you do have osteopenia, which is the beginnings of osteoporosis. So if certain vitamins that you may be lacking that you need more of is vitamin D, vitamin K2, zinc, copper, magnesium, boron. So that's something to maybe get blood work done to see if you're deficient in these. And then you want to eat more omega-3 fishes, tahini, dark green leafy vegetables, chia seeds, because that has a lot of these vitamins and minerals in them. All right, so that was a lot of information about food and nutrition. Now I'll just get more into just other tips that, in terms of behavior modification. So practice mindful, intuitive eating. So mindful eating, it's having awareness, it's paying attention and being present non-judgmentally when you eat. So obviously slowing down and actually chewing your food is very important. So you actually taste it and feel the texture of your food. So you actually remember that you ate, 5 minutes ago and you're not hungry 10 minutes later, or, you had 10 cookies before you even realized what hit you. If you just savored that first cookie, you wouldn't go for, the third or fourth cookie. Another tip would be put your fork down between bites That's assuming you're even using a fork. And then breathing. So between each bite, you might want to take a couple deep breaths. And of course, don't be distracted. Don't be on, looking at your phone, watching TV, on the computer, because that's just mindless eating. And before you know it, you're filling your body up with all these calories because your body doesn't realize it's had enough for about 20 minutes. So you could eat a lot of food. You could probably eat a couple thousand calories of food in 20 minutes before you realize you're even full. So by slowing down and having awareness of what you're eating, you'll ingest a lot less calories and you won't be craving as many calories either. And intuitive eating is a little different. So here's the basics of intuitive eating. Hopefully you realize diets and deprivation do not work, at least then obviously it's not sustainable long-term. Of course, anyone could follow a diet and lose 15, 20 pounds in 4 weeks. But guess what? They gain it all back and more. So I'm sure you know the show, The Biggest Loser. They, lost 200 pounds, some of them. I think I read 95 to almost 100% of the contestants gained all the weight back and more because it wasn't sustainable. They don't have live-in chefs. They don't exercise 8 hours a day anymore. It's not practical. So, if you want a short-term fix because you have a wedding coming up, sure, that's okay. But just realize, if it's not sustainable, you're not going to follow it, and it's going to make it worse because you're going to start binging because you feel like you're deprived and you deserve to eat, treats. So it's just going to be a vicious cycle. And what actually happens, not to get too detailed into this, but when you lose 10 pounds, when you diet, a lot of it's muscle because you're not giving yourself the nutrients and calories your body needs. But then when you gain it back, you gain back fat. So even though the scale might say the same, you lost 10 pounds, gained 10 pounds, and you think you're net neutral, it's not true because the 10 pounds that you lost, let's say 5 of it was muscle, but then the 10 pounds that you gained, all 10 pounds was fat. So you're 5 pounds fatter than you were, even though the scale says you're the same. That's why you might be confused, like, I look different, I look fatter, but I didn't, the scale looks the same. Well, that's because you technically did replace fat, instead of muscle when you went back up. So that's why over a year, and I do that year after year, chronic dieters, they get fatter and fatter. That's just unfortunately the way it is. So intuitive eating, know, honor, and respect your hunger and fullness. You have to learn to listen to your body and know when you're hungry. And that's, doing mindful eating and will help your body understand, and eating the right foods. If you eat enough of the healthy fats and protein, that's going to get you full, so you won't eat as much. Eating all carbohydrates, you're hungry 20 minutes later because it didn't satisfy you. Plus, it's releases certain hormones that make you hungrier. It gives you increases, the feel good hormones like dopamine and serotonin. So then you want to eat more of it to feel better. Understanding and listening to your body will help you not overeat. And again, be satisfied when you eat. So focus on your food, no multitasking, like I mentioned. And if you want, I never ever recommend avoiding your favorite foods. If you have a favorite food, eat it. You can have your favorite food every single day and not gain weight. You want to eat it, savor it. No food is bad or off limits. It's all obviously about portion control and only having one, piece of, cake or scoop of ice cream or whatnot. But you could definitely incorporate it into your, eating plan. Do not try to burn the candle at both ends by cutting back a ton of calories and exercising more. Your energy, you'll be exhausted, and then you're just gonna, be miserable, cranky, or hangry, and eat more, and you won't be able to sustain it. So cope with feelings without using food. So obviously we all get stressed, we all feel down, we get a little anxiety, and we use food for comfort. Everyone does it because it makes you feel good. It releases great, feelings of hormones that make you feel good. And it doesn't judge, it doesn't talk back to you. So instead, try to find something else to do, like walk or read or, some kind of hobby to take your mind off it to relieve stress. Because most of the time we eat, it's because we're stressed or we're bored. It's rarely because we're actually hungry. And that goes back to respecting and understanding your body and the hunger signals. Don't feel guilty, ashamed, or feel like a failure if you think you messed up. Sure, you've all gone through where you're doing great, you've eaten well for 4 days, and then you eat one treat at a party and you think you blew your whole diet, and then you just give up and you go back to, poor eating habits. Eating one cookie or eating even a gallon of ice cream is not going to make you gain weight. If you got on the scale right afterwards, yes, you've gained weight, but you're going to eventually go to the bathroom, get rid of it, and lose the weight over time. You might have gained, let's say, 1 pound of actual mass food. But if you don't do it ever again, then it's not going to do anything to your body. But doing it day after day after day, it's consistency. So basically, if you overate 100 calories a day every day for a year, yes, you'll gain 10 pounds. You do that over a decade, you could gain 50 to 100 pounds. But doing it once or twice, it's not going to affect your, it takes long-term sustainable overeating to gain weight, just like it takes a long time to lose weight. There's no quick fix. So if you're going to eat something that you feel like is unhealthy, don't feel guilty about it, because that's just going to increase stress and increase hormone release that increases, inflammation and cause you to eat more. So just enjoy it and savor it. Like I said, so that's the next one. So if you eat a food you think is unhealthy, enjoy it. Try to just have one or two, and then think long-term. One meal or one day of overeating will not make a difference long-term. It's, you didn't gain 50 pounds in one day or 1 week or 1 month or even in 1 year. It's very hard to. It's rare. Unless you literally just stuffed your face all day long and didn't move, then you'd possibly do that. But obviously none of us do it. We gain maybe 1 or 2 pounds, maybe 5 pounds a year over 10 years. And all of a sudden you look in the mirror, yeah, you might be 50 pounds heavier. All right, so practice portion control. That's obviously a no-brainer. So know what a portion is. You have to educate yourself. Some people have no idea what a portion size is. You have to look at the label. Is it a full cup of cereal, half a cup? Is it a quarter cup? Use a measuring cup so you know. If you don't have a measuring cup, you could use your thumb. Use your hand, I should say. Your thumb is a fat serving, your palm is a protein serving, and a cupped hand is a carb serving. Beware of supersized fruits. So nowadays, our apples are ginormous, as you've probably noticed. Like everything's ginormous. Peaches, whatever, they're ginormous. And so what used to be only 800 calories is now 200 calories. So you have to beware. And then these healthy smoothies and bowls that you see everywhere that's made with ACA and has granola in it and all these fruits and peanut butter and everything, those healthy bowls are not healthy if you're looking to keep your weight in check, because they're at least 800 to 1,200 calories each. So although the ingredients in there are healthy, calorically wise, they're enough to almost, it's like a half a day's worth of food. So just have to realize that. All right, so use a tape measure to know belly fat. Okay, so belly fat is very important. The way you do this, because this is the #1 predictor of disease if you have a high waist to hip ratio. So measure halfway between your ribs and pelvis, so almost your belly button, depends on where your belly button is, but try to be halfway between your ribs and pelvis. But if you can't figure that out, just do your belly button. And then your hips, that's the widest part of your outer thigh or hip. And the ratio for females should be 0.8, males 0.9. Excess, so belly fat and excess eating increases, again, inflammation, oxidative stress, free radicals, causes insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, and all the diseases I mentioned. So that's why belly fat is very important for you to know. And as we all know, obesity is an epidemic. Almost 70% of Americans are either overweight or obese. These 2 studies are amazing. They show that just losing 10 pounds can decrease knee pain by 50%. Losing 10% of body weight can reduce your risk of OA by 50%. Excess weight leads to, of course, excess loading, visceral adiposity, which is just a friendlier way to say fat, weak core hip muscles, and more low back pain. So if you have back pain, obviously losing weight will help a lot. Plus, fat creates inflammation and pain in the body. It attaches to the same receptors that cause pain. So believe it or not, losing weight can help pain. And again, here's the waist to hip ratio, 0.8 for females, 0.9 for males. And weight loss, obviously we could have a 3-day seminar on weight loss. These are, I've kind of narrowed it down to these factors. It's multifactorial. It's not just calories in, calories out. So it's our SAD diet. I've mentioned these things many times, so obviously it's important. Sleep and stress, hormones, gut microbiome, body composition. And obviously there's a psychological, behavioral, emotional, and social support component. Quick fix diets and instant gratification is a major problem because they don't work. And portion distortion, as I know. So let's get into some physical activity. So walk daily for at least 30 minutes. I mean, walking is a wonderful activity. Not only to kind of get your body moving and you're not going to burn a lot of calories. So honestly, the walking part is not, unless you're completely sedentary where you sit all day, walking for 30 minutes, you're going to burn, maybe 100 calories. So maybe 200 calories. So it's not earth shattering, but what walking does do is it could help you relax, decrease your stress, allow you to kind of have a little bit more mindfulness, work on breathing, and all that stress reduction will help long-term improve your fat burning capacity, reduce fat storage, help with your sleep, your metabolism, all the other factors that go into trying to lose weight. So try to get up and walk at least 30 minutes every day. Do some kind of physical activity like that. And then to get your heart rate up, I mean, I'm sure some of you, if you guys are gym, if there's any gym rats in the building, getting your heart rate up is important. So walking doesn't quite do that. Unless, of course, you're walking up steep hills over and over, but using the stairs continuously for at least 1 minute. I mean, studies do show that is using stairs for 1 minute daily is equivalent to walking for 30 minutes. So getting that heart rate up is very important. So HIIT, a HIIT is high intensity interval training. Going up a flight of stairs once, it's not going to do much for you, but continuously going up flights of stairs will help. So obviously 2 minutes is better than 1, 3 is better than 2. You could work up to 5 minutes straight. That would be fantastic. You'll definitely feel your heart rate pumping. If there's any really, I don't know who, the fitness levels of everyone on the call, obviously, but for someone else, it might require you to, do high intensity on a spin bike or, your Peloton or sprints while you're running, that things like that. So obviously this is more geared for either, more elderly people or people who don't currently exercise. And then I mentioned how important weight training is. So you need to lift things daily. Obviously, if you don't know how to use dumbbells or machines and you're at your home, even just lifting like a gallon of milk and doing some squats, sit in a chair and stand up back, 30 times helps, or do some bicep curls. Use muscle in any way you can every day will help reduce, sarcopenia, which is that muscle loss that happens as we age. And if you do kind of know how to do weight training, you have to make sure you're doing heavy enough weight, because just doing, you read a magazine, it says, oh, do 3 sets of 10 of this exercise, and you stop at 10 repetitions because that's what the magazine says, but you could have lifted it 15 or 20 times. That means the weight's not heavy enough. That means you're not going to get any kind of stimulus, and you're not going to get stronger or grow muscle tissue. So it's got to be at the right intensity as well. So that's like one of my number one pet peeves in physical therapy. A lot of PTs just say, oh, do 3 sets of 10, do 3 sets of 10, do 3 sets of 10, when the patient could have done 30 repetitions. So they're not getting any stronger. You have to, if the weight was proper and they got fatigued, like getting a little burning sensation or failure at 10, then yes, 3 sets of 10 is appropriate. But 3 sets of 10 means you do 10 repetitions to almost failure or fatigue, rest a minute or two, and do another set. Doesn't mean do 30 in a row. That's doing 1 set of 30 is not the same as 3 sets of 10. One is endurance, 30 repetitions. The more reps you do, more endurance. And one is strength. So if your goal is strength, you have to use heavy enough weight. So those, aerobic classes where people are throwing dumbbells around over their head and doing all this stuff while they're exercising is not building strength. If anything, it's actually going to, possibly hurt their elbows or their joints because they're swinging these weights around while they're moving. But that's another discussion. All right, so now we'll get into a little bit more, like I mentioned before, a little bit of mindfulness. So practice mindful breathing, awareness, and movement. So that could be, dare I say the word meditation. You don't have to be scared of meditation. Meditation just means you're focusing on your breath. You're inhaling, ideally through your nose, and then you exhale either through your nose or your mouth, and just kind of feel what that feels like. You don't have to shut your eyes. You could do it. I do it while I walk. I do mindful meditation walking every day. If you want to shut your eyes and you feel okay with that, great. Then shut your eyes and just let thoughts come in your head. They're going to come and go. Just accept them, let them go. It's impossible to clear your mind. So anyone who says to just meditate so that you have zero things in your mind, it's impossible. There's no one who could do that, even the people who have reached enlightenment. That's not the goal of meditation. The goal of meditation is just to how you focus on your breath in order to just accept all the thoughts that come in and deal with them and kind of be aware and understand, and different emotions and sensations come up and you just note it and let them go. And that's all you're doing. And when you kind of start thinking about stuff and stress, you just get back to focus on your breathing. And with movement, that could be yoga, that could be Tai Chi, that could be anything. Like I said, it could be walking. Very important to help relieve stress and anxiety, which again affects hormones, affects inflammation in your body. Studies have shown that practicing yoga and meditation does reduce all your inflammatory markers in your body. That helps with reducing cholesterol and blood sugar, things like that. Develop gratitude, compassion, and social connections. Like kind of comes hand in hand. If you could practice gratitude every day, that would be wonderful. Just feel grateful. I know we all go through troubled times and have a lot of stress, but just be grateful. You woke up in the morning, you're breathing, you feel all your limbs, you're able to get up out of bed, you're able to walk to the bathroom, you have a full refrigerator of food, you are able to eat breakfast, you have air conditioning. Just think of 3 things every day you're grateful for. And showing gratitude, studies show, works wonders for your health, for your well-being, reduces inflammation. And of course, showing compassion, not only for others, but yourself as well. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't be, feel guilty and blame yourself. Practicing self-compassion is a very important thing as well. And there's many apps out there and things that you can use to help with that. And obviously having social connections, family, friends, coworkers is very important. And going with that, finding purpose and meaning, having a reason to, get up in the morning, whether it's your line of work or whether it's helping others, so it increases longevity and happiness. So like I said, work, relationships, your pets, volunteer somewhere, caregiving for a relative or friend, all these things, having purpose and meaning, goes a long way, in terms of being happy and living longer. And again, that's a big topic. I'm not going to delve deep into that, but just have that awareness. So all these actions to improve health have to be consistent and sustainable. My intention is not to come here and tell you the magic, give you a magic pill or some earth-shattering thing. I know all of you probably have heard most of these things, but do you actually do it on a day-to-day basis? So, here's the outline of everything I said. So I don't know if you want to, if you could take a picture of this or something. But here are the review of all the things that we went over. So sleep, drinking water, change your mindset, use food as functional medicine, your intermittent fasting, obviously eating more whole non-processed foods, healthy fats and protein, practice mindful intuitive eating, portion control, walk, use the stairs, lift weights, practice mindfulness, practice gratitude, and have purpose and meaning. So if you do all these things, you will be a lot happier and healthier. So that concludes my presentation. I appreciate you hanging in there, and thank you. And if you'd like to set up a free consultation or just talk to me or contact me, here's my email, mattmandel@trinityrehab.com. You could call to get my office. The number's right there. And then even my cell phone, you could call my cell phone too if you like, or text me or whatever. And if anyone has any questions.
The Boyd and Fields family said, thank you very much. I actually do have a couple questions.
Sure.
If I can start it, if anyone would like to go before me, that's fine. You said about eating, you should, between meal, you should have about 4 hours between each meal.
Yeah, everyone's different. Yeah.
So what about like, I mean, like I've always been like a small meal 5 times a day person. Like I have my breakfast and then I have a little snack and then I have my lunch, and it's small. My meals are not very big.
I understand.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I used to be like that, eat 6 times a day, every 3 hours or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Look, if you feel good, if you have no health conditions, you don't have diabetes or high blood pressure, or your cardiac profile is good, you're sleeping well, you don't have any digestive issues, you're lean, you're not overweight, then yeah, whatever you're doing is working, that's fine.
Okay.
But by allowing 4 hours or so, and everyone's different. Obviously, the more muscle you have, the more active you have, obviously the hungrier you're going to get sooner. Okay. But then you could also just eat a little bit more each meal. But by allowing that amount of time, it just gives your body enough time to digest everything and process everything, and not always be causing it. Because when you eat food, it does cause free radicals, oxidative stress to your body, and increases some inflammation to break down all that food. So you kind of want to give your body a rest almost, okay. But if you're eating small meals and they're healthy and it makes you feel good, I'm not going to say don't do it if it's working for you.
Okay.
And great.
And actually, Aida did make a comment. She has 2 questions. Please comment on the oxidative stress and meals. So I guess she wants a little more explanation.
So which is basically what I just said. So when you eat food, you're, not to get too chemical, but scientific, but your body, it breaks it down into different, it has to digest it. And this digestive process forms different substances that cause oxidation or inflammation in your body. So so that's basically what happens. And by not always constantly eating, those free radicals, those stressors, those the oxidation of the foods you eat doesn't occur. So the more you eat, the more it happens.
Okay.
I don't want to go into the chemistry of it because you're not going to understand it.
I'm sure she could always call you, but then Banu said thank you. The other question that Aida asked was, could you explain about not all calories are the same, and avoid farm-raised fish? Those 2 questions.
Yeah, so the calories are not the same. So if you eat 100 calories of 2 different foods, it doesn't mean your body's going to break them down and respond the same. So of course, 100 calories of spinach, your body's going to be able to assimilate and use all the vitamins and minerals and fiber and whatnot in spinach, versus 100 calories of a cookie, the cookie is going to increase insulin levels. It's going to increase different hormone levels, increase blood sugar, whereas the spinach will not. So same amount of calories, but a different information, different response your body has to that food. So eating, you know, an avocado is a lot different. You know, 300 calories of avocado is a lot different than 300 calories of pizza. I mean, it's your body, it's different.
Got it. And then she did ask if catfish is acceptable.
Well, that's catfish, I believe, is high in mercury. So I don't know. But when I say farm raised fish, you know, like if they have like a little pond or a little area where they raise, you know, their little salmon or whatnot, they feed them grains to get, you know, instead of, you know, grains is inflammatory. So that's why farm raised fish, you know, is similar to, that's why you want it wild and not processed, where they're feeding them, you know, the grain feed from the farm, throwing it into their little tank or pond or whatever, wherever they, you know, grow their fish, because that increases inflammation.
Right.
So you want it, obviously fish don't eat grass, so I don't mean grass-fed fish, but you want
Right.
the wild stuff, you know, stuff that's deep water fish that, yeah, and again, you know, you have to be careful where you get that because of the pollutants now in our oceans, you know, they're whatever. I don't want to get too crazy on you, but you know, it's,
Yeah.
you know, it's better to be wild than farm raised in general.
Right.
You still have to, you know, be careful because we obviously, our world is polluted in every way. So,
Yeah, literally,
yes.
literally.
So,
And Penny did say, Dr. Mandel, thank you. Very informative. And I actually do have one other kind of a silly question. I have a cat that wakes me up at 5:30 in the morning because he wants to go out. But my alarm doesn't go off till 6. Should I just say, forget it and just get up at 5:30?
for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Because what's going to happen is you're going to get up at 5:30 every morning, and then what time do you go to bed?
About 10:30.
Yeah, you're going to find you're going to get tired at 10 instead of 10:30. So you're going to go to bed at 10 and wake up at 5:30 instead of 10:30 and 6.
Right. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah,
I
so
thought
it's
it was
definitely
kind of a
better. Yeah,
silly
it's
question.
definitely better not to. Yeah, you wake up at 5:30. Don't go back to
get
bed.
up.
Just get up. You'll get more done, and then you'll get more. You'll probably be more tired earlier at night. So
Okay. All right. Dr. Denise Penn said, thank you, Dr. Mandel. Informative. Could you show the summary screen again so I can copy? Denise, I just wanted to tell you also that this is being recorded, so it will be on the YouTube page, our Parsippany YouTube page. And Dr. Mandel has graciously offered to do this program again, and that is on August 17th, Tuesday, August 17th at 7:45. So if there's anything that you did miss, you can always go back and or see this program again.
did she get this? This is the first one, and then
I think
did she get a picture of it?
Yeah. So Denise, you just want to take a picture with your phone, and then you can just have it on your phone.
Is she?
I'm not
she
sure.
done with the first one? You're not sure. I would think that's enough time, right?
Yeah, because I think she's just taking a picture with her phone, but I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that's enough, and then maybe that one.
Yeah, that one's good. And then I just have one other question too. I'm sorry to be the hog about all these questions, but
No worries.
so yes, I have the first one and the second one. Okay, Denise, good. Thank you so much for letting us know. If you walk 2 miles a day with weights, they're only 5 pounds, so it's really not about building muscle. Is that? That's a good thing, right? I mean, I know it's a good thing, but like the goal is not to build muscle, it's to get my heart rate up. So I don't need to do heavy weights to do that. Right?
Well, right. Well, yeah, look, I'm not a big fan of holding weights when you walk.
Okay.
Because Yeah, but if you've been doing it for years and you've had no wrist issues, no elbow issues, no shoulder issues, no, then keep doing it.
Okay,
And honestly, the more weight, well, obviously it's not going to be safe, but the more weight you carry, the more your heart rate's going to go up.
okay.
Right. So if you took like a 50-pound sack and tried to walk with it, of course, after 5 feet, your heart rate's going to be exploding. Right.
Got it. Okay.
But that's not going to be safe. So I've just never been a fan of extremity weights just because, it'd be better. Yeah, it just might put excessive repetitive overuse strain on your shoulders or your elbows.
Okay.
But if you've been doing it and it's working for you, great.
No,
That's
but that's good to know.
You know,
Penny did ask, what's the best way to see how much inflammation is in your body?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. You'd have to get blood work done, and there's different markers they look for, like C-reactive protein and whatnot. With that, you'd have to go to a medical doctor to get blood work done. Because most of us don't have access to, there's some gadgets out there that are supposed to read like your antioxidant levels, but those are just, but the best thing is just get blood work and ask to see, if you could have like an inflammatory profile done that could show different inflammatory markers.
Well, that's a good idea. Okay, great. She said, thank you. So does anyone else have any other questions? Because we're just about out of time. Again, obviously, you can always, Dr. Mandel has given his, his information if you wanted a consultation. That is something that you can do. And if you want to see this program again, it will be on August 17th at 7:45. Aida asks how to avoid omega-6 oils.
Well, how to avoid them is looking at labels of products. They're mostly found in all the processed foods. So crackers, chips, breads, even, I know hummus, is healthy because of chickpeas, but if they're not using olive oil and they're using canola oil or safflower oil, then it's less healthy. Just have to look at the label to see what oils they're using. And you want to stay away from vegetable oil. A lot of products say, list like one of the following, uses one of the 3 oils, and they list they're all either safflower oil or corn oil or cottonseed oil. Those you want to avoid. You want natural, just olive oil. Even canola oil. Some people say if it's a processed canola oil, it's still inflammatory, even though they say it's got a healthy fat profile. It still could produce inflammation. So
she did
just
ask
do yourself, any kind of snack food, you're going to see it. Any kind of muffin, cookie, bagel, it's going to be in there. So again, eat whole foods and non-processed foods, and you'll stay away from it. And then when you cook, cook with your avocado oil or olive oil or whatnot. But
and she did ask, are there any bland oils that don't contain omega-6? Bland oil.
Bland, meaning no taste. Well, avocado oil has 0 taste.
And it's really good for you.
And it's good for you, yes. Yeah. And it's got a high heating point. So like olive oil, it's got a taste to it. Obviously, you don't bake with olive oil and stuff like that. And that it could burn a little bit easier. But avocado oil has a higher boiling point, so it's actually nicer to use. Because heating oil, especially if it's like corn oil or canola oil, it becomes denatured and definitely inflammatory. You don't want to use, that's why French fries, besides that it's carbohydrates, potatoes being fried, but like in McDonald's and fast foods, they reuse the same oil over and over again. So they're frying that oil all day long. That is the most carcinogenic pro-inflammatory thing you could eat. And they've actually done a study where, you eat French fries and literally an hour later, they test the blood in your blood vessels, and it slows down, the viscosity increases, and there's inflammation in your blood because the amount of, it basically becomes rancid. That's why, you're supposed to protect your oils, keep them in dark containers and out of the sun. It's basically the oxidation process that's happening. Oxidation causes inflammation. That's just our body chemistry. So that goes back to foods you eat, and eating too much or too often, increases free radicals and oxidative stress in your body. So, if you're a chemistry nut and you want to know the exact molecules and stuff I'm talking about, just Google it and look it up, and you'll get it. It's an empty electron. I don't want to go into it because honestly, it's not my expertise. I'm not a
But
chemist.
basically, Aida, the answer is no.
Yeah, the answer is no. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're a little bit past our time, everyone. I really appreciate this program, Dr. Mandel. I found it was very informative, and I am looking forward to the next one. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all have a very nice evening. And you can reach me at the Parsippany Library if you have any questions that I need to pass on to Dr. Mandel. All right. So good night, everyone, and have a nice evening. Good night.
Good night, everyone.